Hello my software colleagues, that's Medhat Sabry welcoming you again to Techstamina. Our topic today is about folkloric habits in software development. What do we mean by folklore in software development? Folklore in general, as you know, is something pertaining to the past, be that in culture, in some procedures, or some medical procedure, some thoughts, some ideas, whatever. Something that pertains to the past. And when we talk about the past, we are the industry of the future. Something doesn't match. But the question is everything pertaining to the past rejected? The answer, I claim that I know the answer. The answer actually is not. Let me tell you some examples, give you some examples. In medicine, for instance, is anatomy something that pertaining to the past? It's a very old thing, very old science. It's not pertaining to the past. It's still used, it's still the basis of surgery. In our industry, Boolean algebra is something that pertains to the past. It has been there for long and is still the basis for programming and for digital design actually. So you cannot generalize and say everything pertaining to the past. But the question about folklore is, does it match the moment or not? This is where you have to subject things to your judgment, to your fair judgment, then take or reject what's folkloric in our software development process. Now, we will start just to draw a timeline for our industry and put some markers in there that will help us actually to differentiate between what's folkloric and what's modern. And let me, before doing that, tell you that I'm not here to just for modernity. I'm not here behind buzzwords. I'm not here just behind fads in the industry. We are trying together to understand what's good for our industry now and what's not, and then reject what's not. Well, let's draw that timeline for the industry and try to detect from that what's legacy and what's folkloric and what's modern. Let me put it like that. I wish actually I could be doing that in landscape, not in portrait. However, I'll try to adapt. I will start at 1980 and take it by decade. Then 2K, 10 plus. Of course there was a lot of things before that, but here there was the big bang in this industry, in my opinion. At that point, at that milestone, at that marker, we had two things happening. The first is the invention of TCP/IP, and the second was the commercial advent of microprocessors. We started to see them in PCs, so personal computers started to take their position in the market and putting a computer, an actual computer, in the desktop of everybody, gradually. Of course, that happened gradually, because we started with very simple things, and then during this decade things evolved. What does that mean, TCP/IP? That means a very important revolution in that era, which is internet working. Of course, that was a result of great efforts before that came from the military actually in a project called ARPA. Net. That's the network for the DoD, Department of Defense of the United States, and ARPA stands for Advanced Research Program Agency Network. By that time it was restricted from the 60s, it was restricted to military use, but now in that decade the revolution is we started to use that. The industry started to use that actually in internet networking, in research and development, and the academia. Of course, that was speeding up the rate of research terribly. People started to see each other and to see what's going on here and there. And that, of course, causes some kind of synergy that has boosted science and technology in a very remarkable way. So that's for that decade. Starting by the 90s, this internet networking that was restricted to research and development, R&D, and the academia started to see its commercial use in what we call so far the internet. So that was the advent of the internet as we know it now for everybody. ISPs started to take the responsibility in spreading that out and delivering that service to people and companies. With the advent of the internet, some very important applications on the internet started to be there. First of all, we had email. Of course, there was email before that, but at that point in time, we started to have the email as something for everyone. We had, before that, of course, browsers. We had Mosaic, if you remember, and Netscape as the first browsers to come to the market. And by browsers, we mean that access is there for data anywhere in the world from your desktop. And this is a revolution that nobody can deny. Then we had like email, anything. What do we mean by that? We had e-business, we had e-commerce. Of course, we cannot now evaluate what kind of impact that was on business and opportunities for people to do business. E-commerce, e-business, e-learning, everything. They call it anything. One of these, of course, is email. And we had also something very important, which is the search engines started to be seen there. Search engines, giving you the chance to look for whatever you want in that huge repository of human knowledge called the internet. And then with 2K, a couple of important things happened. All that's positive, of course. All that's positive for business opportunities, all that accumulation of knowledge in computer science and new opportunities, new products, new markets, new development opportunities, all that's positive, of course. So we had here what we call Computer 4 TMT. Telecom, with the revolution in telecom and cell phone and things like that, we had a computer application for telecom, for media, this is telecom, and that's media, and technology. Some kind of marriage that happened between media, telecom, and technology. And we have started to see social networking. And talking about media, no one can forget that that was the advent or the outbreak of a revolution called the YouTube. That's the one I'm talking to you through now. And believe me, while I was working here, still working here, if ever anybody told me that you would be, after like 30 years standing and giving some video lecture to your colleagues, video talk to your colleagues through the internet using some platform which don't you know where exactly and for free, I wouldn't have believed him. So let me stop here a minute and try to put something on the other axis in there. And to achieve the target from this timeline, what I'm going to put on the vertical axis here is actually two things. I will do that in two different colors. For one thing, I would say the industry innovation. Innovations. And with industry innovations, I will put another thing, I'll make that in red, which is software or industry. Industry is software, of course, software business opportunities. Let's try to plot that, this and that. As you can see, as far as the industry provisions or innovations, I will start from a very low point here. That doesn't mean that I'm denying what was going on before the 80 and it was very low. No, actually, because I have to give myself some space, because things will go up exponentially, as you understand, as you expect me. So we say that can expect that we went like this, and then like that with the advent of the commercial internet, and then even like that in here with the advent of this social network, especially, and the YouTube. And in tandem with that, we had our opportunities. Applications are nourishing, of course. Demand is there to build applications. This internet started to be one of the basic cradle for any application. Technologies are evolving, we are learning, we are delivering, customers are demanding. So this is an era of actually an outbreak of opportunities for us. So let me assume that we were going hand by hand with the technology giving, like that. So the black is what's happening in the technology, the innovation curve, and the red is our opportunities in software development. More or less. Now, what happened there to K10 plus? That is the big question. Unfortunately, I would say that with the beginning of this decade in the 21st century, things started to differ a little bit to the industry, because we had another milestone here, or another marker here. We had what is known as the financial crisis, which has affected the way people are spending and how economy is responding to change financial crisis. And following that, in that era, that decade, two players started to come into the market as determining factors, actually, in all businesses, not only in all industries, not only ours. And that was two things. These were two things. For one thing, we had the political situations around the globe. Something is political. Political, may I say, disturbances that affects economy, of course. Something political and economical. Unrest, even for the big economies in the world, unrest. And that is affecting our industry like it affects anything else. This is as far as politics and economics. Two other revolutions happened in that era too, which are related to the industry, directly related to the industry. One is the advent of open source software. People started to license, according to Open Source Foundation. This is a big movement that is availing software for no money, for any kind of application. You will find something that will serve you. We started to take that at the beginning, or customers or markets started to take that at the beginning a little bit skeptically, but actually some daring people had the chance to try, and we had everything from operating systems to ERPs. What's the effect of this on the market? Of course, this is a very, very important new player in the market that is diminishing opportunities for people who are doing software. Another thing happened, which we had clouding, which is clouding actually. Especially when you talk about software as a service. That's availing. OSF is availing software for no money. And these people are availing software for a fractional cost of what we used to do before. Coupling all these things together, political, economical, and new movements in the industry had, of course, some sort of an adverse effect on the growth of our opportunities, not only on that, on the mood of the business and the pace of the business and everything. And at that point, where we started actually to see that the two curves, the one for the innovations and the other for the business opportunities, started to separate. So that is going on like that, and this one, the red one, is, you can imagine that it's going like that. What's the outcome of this? In my opinion, and that's what I did when I talked about business as unusual concept, which you will see in a separate section in Techstamina, which actually is the main motive behind Techstamina, is that we can divide our timeline into two main parts. The first part is here, from here and before. So I call this business as usual. Everything had a certain pace. Of course, there was a change of pace starting in that decade. I will take a look at that in a minute. But generally, things were cool and calm. Here, we started to witness what I called business as unusual. Why did I call it so? Because the way you were perceiving business and you were responding to opportunities in that era, before 2K plus 2K10 plus actually 2009, and maybe this is transition period starting 2000, the way you were perceiving things had to change. The pace of the business was going up in a very, very notable way. Customers started to be nervous. Opportunities started to diminish. People have their own market pressures, and they come to you to serve them, and you must cope with what they think is pressure on them regarding scope and time. They are pressing you regarding costs all the time because they want to go down with the prices that they pay for software, because they have other opportunities for less cost. As I said, all this kind of factors led us into a new business world that was not known before, and we had two main phenomena that were showing themselves up like never before in this era, in the business as unusual. I may frame here two things, two effects. Number one is the pace that you have to take business with and have to manage your projects with, that has to cope and go up. Secondly, there was always a change. People tend to change a lot, either because of the change in governmental legislations or business conditions or market conditions or whatever. In many cases, in most of the cases, they have a reason to change, or for other reasons that we will discuss later. Now, what about folklore? In my opinion, everything before here, before 2K, you can consider folklore. By the way, I may put a very important marking point on the 2K here. If you tell me, I will send you $10 or equivalent. with the currency of your country. So if you do think, recall, here we started, and that proves, and that is a separation point between what's legacy and what's modern. And not modern as modern. Modern because we need a new way of thinking. That's agile. I say agile, I'm used to that pronunciation, and some people that might sound strange, agile or agile. So it's a movement that started here. And that is a proof that what was working nicely and calmly before that point did not catch up with the pace starting at that point. Now, concluding, with that timeline, we have actually proved two things. There are things that you can call folkloric, and you have to think about, this is number one. Number two, there is a change in the market, in the way we are dealing with our projects, that has shown itself starting at 2K in the pace, and then started to show itself more sharply in 2K 10 and plus, regarding not only the pace, it's the pressures on you in the markets as well as the change. I will stop here before I talk about the habits that we have to change, the folkloric habits that we change for a reason. Actually, I made a poll on Techstamina News Facebook group about whether to do this topic in article or in video tip or in video. So the result was that very clearly you needed that in video. And when that was the case, being the case actually, I decided to do it in 2 or 3 videos. I dedicated this video to just illustrate and trace back in a kind of flashback, like in movies, what happened in the industry that separated us, or separated our timeline into legacy and folklore, modernity as we need it. That ends my this video actually, and I hope I see you very soon in the first video about the first habit that we have to look in and consider as soon as I can. I will do that soon enough, by the way. So until then, thank you for coming, and I hope I will see you always on Techstamina.com. Don't forget, if you want to leave me anything, any remarks, any comments of any kind, you have 2 ways to do that so far. Either you send me an email on the email that you will see here on that screen, below on that screen, or you can even leave that on Techstamina News Facebook page. Thanks again, and see you soon.